You still hear the voices. You still smell the bodies under the rubble. Like a nightmare. It was like hell on earth.
This is CNN.
Just getting word of a major earthquake in Haiti, 7.3. This is a large earthquake. The damage potential is significant.
It was supposed to be Andre Berto's opportunity at stardom, a January 30 showdown against living legend Shane Mosley. But less than 3 weeks before the fight, his plans were derailed when his parents' home nation of Haiti was struck by a devastating earthquake.
I was at the gym, hitting the bags. I was running, I was doing all these things. Haiti was the only thing I could think about.
Haiti's disaster was catastrophic, with a death toll that would rise to over 200,000. Among them, some of Andre's own relatives.
It just really hit home for me. I lost 8 family members. The whole house went down, and it just basically killed everybody in the house.
Berto also had an older sister and a niece who were missing. But even after he got word that they were okay, the Mosley fight seemed less important.
The whole morale of the whole camp just went down. I looked at him and I was like, you're like a shell of the person that you once were. So for you to go in the ring and fight like that, it's not gonna work. Let's just go and call the fight and let's go and take care of our family.
We just landed in Haiti 8 to 9 days after the earthquake. We're here, man, to try to make a difference, you know what I mean?
When we touched down, that smell was intense. It was 10 times worse than any garbage can or any dumpster that I've ever smelled. It was smell of rotten flesh, and I'll never forget that smell.
Me and my brother went there, we went straight to work.
For 5 days, Andre and Cleveland worked with Dr. Barth Green and Project Metashare, an organization which has helped Haiti's development for the last 15 years.
He showed up not as a world champion athlete, but instead as a volunteer doing stuff that a humanitarian, not a professional athlete, would be expected to do.
It was carrying patients in, if it was hanging up the IVs, where it was there just passing out water. Anything they needed us to do, we were doing.
I was actually surprised how tough Andre and his brother were, because they got right in there.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, up.
They saw people dying. They helped move the bodies out so we could try and save another person.
We just had to put another body in a body bag today, so that's what's been going on out here. So we just doing all we can, just try to save the ones that we can save. But as you can see, not everybody's going to make it. So it's day 3. Being around all that death, being around all the pain. A few times I had to step away from a situation. Just to walk outside and just basically take a breather. It was just insane, just walking up and down the streets and seeing all the tent camps and just seeing house after house after house just destroyed.
But amid all the death and destruction, life continues, and Andre would witness that firsthand.
Got brought in, and she gave birth to a newborn baby boy. Beautiful situation. These people going through a lot of struggle, but we're making new life.
3 months later, Haiti continues to dig out and recover. And while Andre Berto prepares to face Carlos Quintana tonight, his Haitian experiences continue to resonate within him.
I think I've aged, 2 or 3 years within those 5 days, and all I can say, they're really strong people, and really strong people to continue to endure that, because it was an experience that I definitely never going to forget.
All in all, as you heard Andre say, the Bertos lost 8 family members. It is an extremely tight-knit family, centered around the extremely powerful figure of Berto's father, Giselle. They will bounce back. But Berto faces a tremendous challenge, obviously, coming off of that experience and into this fight tonight. Emmanuel, in your decades as a trainer and manager, you've helped fighters through every kind of emotional crisis going into a fight. Have you ever seen one more extreme than this?
No, I have not, Jim. And I think that Berto made the right decision to pull out of the fight. Regardless of what condition he was in physically, emotionally and spiritually, it's nowhere in the world he could have been prepared for a fight like that with Shane Mosley. Particularly being that Shane is probably at the top of his game with his trainer, Nassim Richardson, doing a great job right now, and it would have been two difficult attacks. Even if he had been 100% and nothing had happened in Haiti, it would have been a difficult task.
Can he fight at his best level tonight?
I think he can tonight. I think he's had enough time in between where he's adjusted, and after speaking to him yesterday, I feel that emotionally and spiritually he's ready.
Let's talk about another part of the adjustment, Larry Merchant. He's fighting Carlos Quintana instead of Shane Mosley. What does that mean to him?
It means that a loss is worse than it would have been. A victory doesn't mean as much as it would have been. And yet, perversely, because of his hands-on, heartfelt response to the horror of Haiti, Berto has made a lot of friends, new fans presumably. So he has a chance here tonight to define himself. Not many of those friends, incidentally, are here outside of Fort Lauderdale. We've seen bigger crowds in Manny Pacquiao's dressing room. Just a little gratuitous remark there. What we all want to know is whether Andre Berto can compete on the level of Pacquiao and Mosley and Mayweather. And he has to go through a slick spoiler southpaw to start proving it.
Indeed, it's either a promising or forbidding prospect. If he can beat Quintana, he's still on track for big fights against the likes of Mosley, Mayweather, and Pacquiao. If he cannot beat Quintana, he may never get to that level again. Tail of the tape now for Andre Berto and Carlos Quintana. And you can see that Berto is 7 years younger, but Quintana is 1 inch taller and has a 1.5-inch arm length advantage measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. They both weighed in under the welterweight limit. Berto has gone up to 153.5 overnight unofficially. Quintana all the way to 161 for an apparent unofficial 7.5-pound weight advantage. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Andre Berto Carlos Quintana fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3-knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. In case it is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards after 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
All right, Harold, and you heard Larry Merchant describe Carlos Quintana as a potential spoiler here tonight. He's already played that role at least twice in his career. Once with a win over another prospect named Joel Julio, and then, stunningly to most, a win over Paul Williams in their first fight with each other.
And that gives him something on his resume that Berto doesn't have. A victory over a top opponent.
Indeed, Berto hasn't been in with anybody as good as Paul Williams quite yet. And just to mark how good Williams is, in his rematch with Quintana, he knocked him out in the first round. So the one win in 3 title fights was against Williams. And in addition to the first round knockout loss to Williams in the rematch, his other loss was against Miguel Cotto in a fight in which Cotto sledgehammered him to the body. Will Berto try to do that, Emmanuel?
I think what Berto would do that. Seeing he's built similar to Miguel in some areas, being that he's a short, stocky type fighter. But, you know, Berto does not have that explosive punching power Miguel Cotto. He's the type of guy that would try to wear you down. So that's where the difference changes when it comes to punching power between Berto and between Cotto.
Short walk to the ring, and Quintana makes it in. Another representative of the proud tradition of Puerto Rico in boxing. Although he tells us as a teenager, he was equally as good as a basketball player. Quintana got a win over veteran journeyman Jesse Feliciano in December, and by all accounts did not look all that good in getting it. Here comes Andre Berto. Longest inactive stretch of his career was brought about by the cancellation of the Mosley fight. He's being escorted into the ring by a rap star named Soulja Boy, who had a #1 hit a couple of years ago. and is helping Andre in the effort to bring more consciousness to Haitian relief. Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the BankAtlantic Center here in Sunrise, Florida, DeBella Entertainment is proud to present the Fighting for Haiti main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Welterweight Championship of the World. Sponsored by Champs Sports, where sport lives, and PSI Packaging Solutions and Investment, along with Life Fitness and Hammer Strength. It's what we live for. And Daniel Boone Log Homes, American-made, honest value. This bout sanctioned by the Florida State Boxing Commission, Chairman Ramiro Ortiz, Executive Director Tom Malloy, WBC President Jose Suleiman. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this contest: Michael Pernick, Alejandro Rochin, and Jack Woodburn. And inside the ring, working for the 39th time in a world title bout, the man in charge of the action, referee Tommy Kimmins. And now, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing white with red and blue, officially weighing in at 146 1/2 pounds. His professional record, an outstanding one, 27 victories, including 21 knockouts with only 2 defeats. From Moca, Puerto Rico, Boricuas, the challenger, former welterweight champion of the world, Carlos El Indio Quintana. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing red with blue, official weight 146 1/4 pounds. This Olympiade d'Haïti now has a perfect professional record consisting of 25 fights, 25 victories, including 19 knockouts. His heritage is Haiti. He's fighting out of Winter Haven, Florida, the undefeated, reigning, defending WBC welterweight champion of the world, Andre.
Let's go. Berto. Gentlemen, this is the main event. 12 rounds for the WBC Welterweight Championship of the World. And I gave you the instructions. I want to remind you, this audience is here to watch you fight, so keep it clean. Touch them up.
Berto is a solid favorite, but what he's hoping for is to cash in on a